love got stronger. Do I love God more? Do I love me? I call it the street Jesus.
Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the path.
And you're listening to Live from the Path. We're coming to you from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper. My name is Ben Booth. It's good to be with you this evening.
Hi, Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing all right. Hey, here's what we got going on the show tonight. So last week we were talking about the Hobby Lobby stuff, okay? And I said I was gonna think on it for a week as to where I would fall to the question that if I were a business owner and you had to provide this, or the law came down that you had to provide these abortifacients or whatever, like, what would you do? And the three options were you would get out completely, you would fight it till the end, and go bankrupt trying to not have to provide these, or just go ahead and provide them because that's where the court landed. So I've been thinking about that this week, and I think I have my answer. So I'll give that here in a little bit on the show. And that was a long conversation, so we're not going to get into a broad one. But I said that I would think about it and come back a little bit after some thought, and I have. So I have that, and I'll provide that. Also, we got three rounds of what's happening. Dan, what's happening in the world? What are we going to talk about tonight?
Well, I'll tell you what. There's a man who captures a couple women on video stealing everything he owns at a beach. Did you see that?
I saw that, yes.
Okay. We have a newspaper headline referring to President Obama using the N-word. And we have a mom who's battling Facebook over her child's picture she put up that was like a copper tone old ad with a little bit of the rear end showing, and they flagged it as pornography.
Okay, that seems rough. Okay, we'll hit those. Also, Buva's got, so here's the deal. Buva had something to say, but he said it doesn't qualify as advice. So we're starting a new segment on the show tonight, and it's This Happened to Me, starring John Buva III. And so there's something that happened in Buva's life. He's going to share it with you, and we're going to get in on that. Also, I found this article, or the last thing we talked about on the podcast last week was the marriage tip of the month. And I wanted to walk through it with you fellows and see if you had some thoughts as to whether it was a tip to the ladies on how to treat the man. And
I think I like it already.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to see whether we
won't.
feel like it is helpful advice. It could be helpful, could be not. I don't know if it's a personality deal with the fellas or what. But anyway, that's we're going to walk through that. And also, we got some advice on Dear Life from the Path. Hey, before we go any further, just a real quick shout out to our two sponsors, Westfield Veterinary Hospital here in Johnston. Go to westfieldvethospital.com. And Bob Eisenlower with the Eisenlower team. Go to eisenlowerteam.com. And he'll help you with any buying or selling of houses that you may need done this week or in the near future. Bob's your man. And Westfield is a great place to take your pets. They'll keep an eye out for your pet and your pocketbook. They're the best of both worlds. So check them out, westfieldvethospital.com. And even if you don't need either of their services, make sure you give them a phone call, knock on the door, send them an email, or just push them over in the street and say, hey, thanks for sponsoring Life in the Path. We appreciate listening to that, and we appreciate you giving your time and dollars to make sure that continues. So thanks a lot for that to those guys. All right, let's figure out what's going on in the world, Dan. What's happening?
All right. We'll start with the mom battles Facebook over child's copper tone pose. Mother was temporarily banned from Facebook after she posted a photo of her 2-year-old daughter's exposed buttocks in what she claims was an innocent recreation of the famous copper tone girl pose from 1953, which predates all of us in this room. But it was a puppy pulling on the rear end of, you've probably seen it. Yep. So Facebook removed the photo of her daughter, banned her from the site for 24 hours, after she posted the picture on Coppertone's official Facebook page. Coppertone didn't take it down, but Facebook flagged it.
Okay.
And anyway, mom said, I was completely shocked and outraged. There's nothing sexual about it. It's sweet. Okay. Here's the question.
Okay.
Is there any nudity, art, photography, statues, whatever, etc., that can be considered non-sexual? Okay. A, that's ridiculous. There is nothing sexual about children or art. B, you can't be too careful. Nudity in any form is sexual to somebody. Or C, you said buttocks.
Bova, you're up first on that one.
Okay. I wish I could say A. I really do, but I'm leaning towards B. I think that especially with social media and stuff like this, and the way that things can leak so easily, and the way that things can get out of hand so easily, it's bad. But I think the society we live in today, I'm leaning towards B. It's going to be either offensive or sexual to somebody, and you can do your best job as you possibly can to eliminate that situation and to keep it under wraps by having your profile private. I mean, all the different stuff when it comes to Facebook, but ultimately there's a chance that it could be sexual to somebody. And
Sharia
that's why.
law, basically. You're with cover it all up, never show anything.
No.
Okay, so hit me with your distinction.
So I think that, like, I'm not saying that you have to completely cover yourself and all you can see is eyes of anyone, but legitimately the girl's buttocks was showing. So obviously that's a little bit further than just having your arms showing or having a tank top on.
Dan's general premise was nudity. His
Okay,
general
yeah,
premise
that's what I'm saying.
Well,
So,
wasn't
yeah,
that
nudity.
specifically? It was just in general nudity.
Yes.
Okay. So what makes that not Sharia law? What makes that not don't show anything?
I guess the specific parts.
Yeah,
I don't know.
where do you draw?
Yeah, exactly.
Where
I'm
does it
trying to
become
think.
nude?
I don't know.
Have you not been on the internet? There's shoulder guys. There's ear fellas. I mean, like there's pervs in every you pick a part. There's a perv for it.
That's true. Well, I guess my distinction is the normal nudity.
The normal deviant person.
I know.
With
the
strange
normal
fetishes.
concepts of
The
nudity.
pervs that are okay
Private,
with me.
I mean, private area, what you would call a normal private area.
Where do those-
I don't think shoulders and elbows are normal private area.
Well, now wait a minute. So like that's a
That's a
cultural perv thing.
Yeah.
It's more those are more pervy to us because those are the things that are actually covered in our society. You see a shoulder in Saudi Arabia, you got yourself something.
That's a valid point. Okay, so in the society that I live in, culturally where I am,
Okay.
the nudity that we would consider, a woman's breasts and genitals and buttocks, and the same for a man, and genitals and buttocks and stuff like that.
Why are you saying genitals and buttocks?
Because I'm trying to say this in a way that's not going to be creepy.
I don't know. It makes me weird when you say that.
Yeah,
Creeped
fine.
out.
You go exactly what I'm talking about,
Okay.
so I'm not going to keep saying it. So I think that is what we would consider to be sexual parts
Uh-huh.
need to be covered, especially on social media.
Uh-huh.
You're right, in Saudi Arabia, shoulders would be a little bit crazy, but here we are.
I think you're underestimating the amount of pervs who will just pick a random part. But I'm with you. I mean, I hear what you're saying.
agree, but I don't think we need to go to the extreme of having just a black background as our pictures that we share. We should be able to show pictures. That's the concept of social media, keeping up on someone, seeing statuses, seeing what they're doing, taking pictures of their kids and stuff like that. I think that if it's that kind of excessive nudity where you can legitimately see the butt of a little girl, someone could very easily turn that into something bad. And I think that
wait a
someone had
minute.
to flag that.
Hold on. I'm trying to buoy your distinction here because the first half of what you're saying is that we can't really be held. There's all matter of perversion, right? So
Yeah.
we can't reasonably be restricted by every manner just because someone's going to take it and be perverted with it.
Okay.
But you're also saying, hey, even though it's not sexual and it's a copper tone ad of which like we sold in stores, I might add,
yes.
pretty broadly within the last 30 years. But because some pervo is going to use that shouldn't be allowed. It seems like you're making the same argument on both sides.
I would not put my daughter's picture on Facebook with a very clear view
Of a butt crease?
yes. At least halfway down.
Yeah, I'm trying to correlate it to what I would do, which is ultimately where I'm coming from, which is I would not do that.
Well, okay, so just to make sure that we're not answering two different questions. Dan's broad question had to do with nudity.
Right.
Now, it wasn't at that, like the premise
Nudity
was
in general.
was
Yeah,
the start of the ad.
I get
Okay.
that, yes.
All right. So
So I'm sticking with answer B.
that you shouldn't show it at all.
Yeah.
You made no case to me as to how that's not Sharia.
Okay, fine. Maybe it is. There you go.
but that and that's what you're in with.
Yeah, I'm
Could
in
it be
with B.
just basic godliness though? I mean, why would you? I'm a strong B. I mean, I'm yeah. I think that even I'm uncomfortable with some stuff that they call art. Maybe I'm just a barbarian or something. I'm like
A prude is the word.
a prude, whatever it is. You know, if there's a 1500 gal laying on the couch with her boob hanging out, I was like, I don't need to see that. Why didn't you just cover that up, Mr. Painter? I mean, I don't need to see that.
Do you have troubles lusting after that kind of thing? Is that what you're saying?
It gets the mind to rolling.
It's a temptation for you.
I mean, I don't like, oh, I'd like to meet that girl. She's, dust now. But, I mean, it's not like that. But it's like it gets it doesn't take much to get the old mind to rolling.
Dan, I'm glad you don't look at paintings and go, I bet she was out 500 years ago. Because that'd be worse than my genitals.
If I was 500 years younger and I wasn't married.
Oh, it's gross. Ben, what's your answer?
Okay, so you're both in a strong B.
I'm a strong B.
Yeah. I don't. I'm not going to come down firm on either one of those. I actually think it is a. I'm not opposed. I don't really have a problem with art that has nudity in it. I don't know that I really have an issue with it.
So I think it's awkward. Like downtown, they have the
lady getting
lady getting out of a bathtub with her boob hanging down. I was like, really? I mean, why?
Yes. I mean, here's the deal. I've walked by that 100 times. I mean, I know it's there. I don't know that I've ever had any issue with it.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't like get me flying or anything. But I mean, just like,
I mean, you can question as to whether it's appropriate art. But I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm like that people create artistically. I'm like, I don't know that I really need to see that. I mean, you could say the same thing for horror movies.
Yeah, I don't watch
in fact, almost all art, right? Like you could chuck all horror movies. You could chuck almost all romantic comedies.
Because see, art is a license to do pretty much anything you want that's deviant and go, hey, it's art.
No, that's a perverted use of it. That
exactly.
Like on its own, art in and of itself isn't that. Because that's isn't a license to be deviant. That people do deviant things with.
Yeah.
That some people do deviant things with it doesn't mean that the basic nature of art itself is deviant.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's a perversion of something that otherwise we might be able to enjoy. That people have used for perversion. I might say the same thing about a Polaroid. Because people do pervy things with Polaroid cameras or your cell phone camera. Like you're saying, you've taken
the old guns don't kill people. People do.
Right. You've taken something that's innocuous, and people do
yeah.
pervy things with it. And like, I don't know that should disqualify the basic nature of it. Secondly, there's all matter of perversion. I don't know. I do not think it makes sense to chase the perv and try to hide and do absolutely everything you can. And have to protect absolutely everything because some dude might perv over it. I just first, you're never going to out perv the perv. He's going to be perved about something else.
But if you can certainly cut off 90% of them with the main parts that people perv over. Yeah, there's always going to be somebody who's.
Well, but that's the thing. It's like you're thinking of normative things because that's what you would. Like the things that we would hide are the things that you would have a problem with. That doesn't necessarily represent society broadly.
Right. But I mean, surely, I mean, I don't know where you can find statistics on this, but generally speaking, the left earlobe isn't like every guy is like, hey, I've always wanted to see.
It's not safe for me to search Google statistics on the type of stuff.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you just
don't
search on.
Yeah, I mean, some other guy who can handle that is going to have to provide the data. I think it is more varied, but I guess what I'm rejecting is the premise that I have a responsibility broadly to keep out of sight or out of public view from every guy who could perv on something. Here's the deal: is I can't help a guy who walks by a suntan lotion bottle with a kid's butt crack on it because the dog grabbed a hold of the swimwear and pervs on it. I cannot do anything about that.
Right. And that's not really what this is. This was at the beach, a little 2-year-old and her friend. They were having innocent fun.
Right.
And mom took a picture and thought, it looks just like that bottle,
And here's the deal: is like 98% of the society is going to be able to look at that, and it's like, I get it, the copper tone bottle, ha ha ha. 2% is going to be some creepo with big eyebrows, like looking at it and leering. I don't know that I can protect. I don't know that I should restrict everything I do to make sure that guy doesn't get jollies off of something he shouldn't. That seems unreasonable to me. I have a responsibility. To Dan's point, you have a responsibility from a godliness perspective to not promote impropriety, right? And the thing is I think where you're going to have a problem is the same reason the Supreme Court had a problem. Like they're going to be more liberal than I am on the definition, but like I'll know porn when I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
The thing is like I'm going to call that a Holy Spirit distinction. You're going to have to be careful on what's it's the same thing with how you dress. It's the same like where ladies have to decide what's appropriate, what is potentially distracting to other men and alluring. I mean, I have that same problem. If I wear too alluring of a shirt, I've drawn the ladies in unnecessarily.
I do it all the time.
That's
It's
what I'm
embarrassing.
saying.
Yeah.
And like the thing is like you make that distinction every day in how you live, not just the art that you take into the art that exists, but it's the life that I live. I have to be careful on maybe it's something I can handle, but if someone else can't, broadly or otherwise, what responsibility do I have to protect that? Now, the only way to actually do it is not let anybody leave the house, because and the Saudi Arabia is like a fringe example to our culture, but it actually illustrates the broad point that like some people just get off on whatever.
Right.
And like you can only control so much.
And I agree with that statement entirely, and I think you can only control so much, but I think that you need to control those things.
That's very distinct what you said.
Give me a second.
Okay.
Having a picture of your daughter with her butt hanging out, I think is not controlling that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
Okay, well then that's where we disagree, because I think you're not controlling that. I think you can think that's cute and you can have that picture, but putting it up on Facebook or social media is the problem. I think if you have that at home in an album because you think it's cute and it's your daughter, awesome.
Yeah.
I think it would probably be adorable. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's the Coppertone bottle, but I don't think I'd put that on Facebook.
Yeah, and make sure I guess we're talking about the same, or we're agreeing on the same points here. I wouldn't have posted it on Facebook. I just don't think it's a pervy picture.
Okay, so that's where I'm drawing the distinction from. I think I'm not answering the question, and you called me out of this a couple times. I think I'm not answering the question that you're asking. I think I'm more talking about the situation at hand.
Sometimes I get tricky that way.
Exactly. So I think that the distinction that I was trying to draw is that you should control the things that you can, and I think putting it out on Facebook and letting it out there is not controlling it.
So so if you're talking about broad control. Not specifically like what exactly should you control, what is permissible, what is not permissible, but what you're talking about is like you have the ability to say I will share this or I will not.
Right.
This is I don't know that not sharing it is it's not a protection of some of the boy, I'm gonna offend a bushy eyebrowed guy, but like I'm not worried about him. I wouldn't have any reason to share that on a social media site to anybody.
Like every parent's got pictures of their kids like just jumping out of a bath and stuff like that. Like my parents had plenty of pictures of me, but that stuff didn't make it to Facebook. I think that this is the situation: is that picture that should have been kept at home, should have been kept within the family for a cutesy photo or showed to close family friends is one thing. When they come over and look at photo albums, but putting it on a Facebook for it to be able to be Google search it now for anyone to go and take a look at it, because it's a lot easier than people think to be able to find those images. I think that's where I'm drawing the problem.
I mean, I don't really. Again, I don't have actually I don't have a sexual problem with that being available. I think it's just foolish. I don't know why you would. I mean, there's no reason.
I'm not saying just from a sexual standpoint. I'm saying it's just kind of. I feel like it's inappropriate, not just from a sexual standpoint. Some people just don't want to see that.
Well, I don't know. Look at it.
Okay.
Hey, I don't want to look at this, but I am. Stop it.
You're scrolling through your newsfeed. You can't control everything you're going to see.
Oh, a kid's butt. How will I live my life again?
I'm not saying I would be offended, but we're in the life
pedophiles.
where that is happening. We're in a world. You cannot just reject that because you wouldn't.
No, I'm with you. But
it's there because it's happening.
Okay, but what is your reaction? So I mean, that same pedophile could pass my daughter walking out on the street. What's the difference? He's perfect.
Flesh. Yeah.
We're at the beach. Call it the beach. Kids are walking around all the time, bending down. You got a little butt crack showing. What's the difference? Okay, eliminate beaches because they allow a perv man to show up.
We've been careful what kind of swimsuits our daughters wear, what kind of shirts they wear.
Obviously,
clothing.
You can't control the reaction of everyone. You can't control the full environment. I'm not saying you can in any way. I'm just saying control what you can control. Don't let it go out of control if you can control the situation. If your daughter's butt is hanging out at a beach and it's cutesy for you to snap a picture, do it. But that doesn't mean, just let it happen all the time. That doesn't mean you just show it to everybody. That doesn't mean you put it on Facebook for everyone to see. I think that you can protect that situation more than she did. And I think that's the problem that I'm finding.
Yeah, that wasn't Dan's broad question, but I hear what
I said, I'm more talking to the situation rather than the question. I apologize for that.
I get that. Yeah.
All right. I think we've written that down.
The answer to your question is B.
I reject all.
What's next?
Okay. Man captures on video women stealing his belongings at the beach. A video surfaced recently of a man approaching a couple of women. It's only like a minute long.
Right.
They're setting up a tent on the beach. The man asks if they're putting up the tent that if it's theirs, and they say, yeah, it is, but we don't know how to do it. He says, well, do you need any help? They said, yeah, do you know how to do it? He says, yeah, that stuff's ours. Basically, the chairs, the bag, the tent, the toys is all ours. And he says, that's okay, we'll let it slide, this time. And one of the women's like, I'm not going to let it slide. And they basically attack the guy as he's approaching them for stealing his stuff. And,
The reaction was awesome.
It was pretty funny. So, how would you confront someone who's stealing your stuff on a beach?
Okay.
A, call the police, let them handle it. B, throw sand in their face and tackle them to the ground. Or C, have a conversation with them, giving them a chance to leave.
C.
Yeah, strong C.
Yeah, strong C. I don't think you need to involve the police unless don't jump to that. Don't attack them. And if you haven't seen the video, please look it up. It is hysterical.
Because they do attack him.
The lady's reaction is, yeah, when I come out of here, I better get that camera and I'm going to put it in the dirt. As he's taking a video of her stealing his stuff.
I don't understand her reaction.
It's
No,
it's bizarre.
it's ridiculous.
They're in complete denial.
One gal is off to the side. You can't see her in the original video. Or you can't see her right away in the video. The other gal is like inside of the canopy trying to take
Like one
it
of those
down.
pop-up tents.
And is literally taking it down. And the one gal's reaction is just completely timid. She's shy and she's not even talking. She's just like, well,
You mean this here? Like
what,
size,
this?
or-
And then the one gal is just like, well, no, you better not be taking a video of this situation as I'm stealing all of your stuff. And you've just caught me red-handed and called me out in a video. And she's like, she runs after the guy as he's like laughing.
Slapping him.
Yeah,
He's like, what are you doing?
it is
Are you
hysterical.
really doing this?
I'm trying to think of what mindset I would have to be in to have that reaction. As I'm stealing someone's stuff, I retaliate against them because they're not retaliating against me. The guy is just literally like, well, let it slide. That's
He
my
really
kid's
did,
stuff.
yeah.
Cool dude.
Yeah.
It's just, I laughed. I watched it like 3 times because I couldn't stop laughing. I thought it was great. So, strong C.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it sounds like I'd have the same reaction as that guy.
Yeah. Hey, that's my stuff.
Yeah.
I would start with C, but by the time she escalates it, I'd probably go to A. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, we're going to play this game? Yeah, all righty. Talk to the police.
Have you ever had to do that? Booba, have you ever had someone steal stuff that you had to call the fuzz about?
No, I've never had to call the police on stuff, but I've had stuff happen to me where I've had to kind of confront. I told you guys this about Thanksgiving a couple years ago. They didn't break into my house because I never locked the doors, but someone came into my house and slept on my couch.
Yeah.
It was Thanksgiving Day. My older brother woke me up coming downstairs and said, hey, I think one of your friends is sleeping on our couch. And I walk upstairs, and it is a complete and total stranger that I have never met, has walked into my home and is sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
And I decided that him having to wake up to 2 lumbering giants standing over him and scaring the crap out of him was enough of a situation. I didn't call the cops and say, hey, there's a guy trespassing. I just said, hey, man, what do you need? And I drove him to a gas station and let him use my cell phone. I've had weird situations like that happen where you can just handle it. I wasn't in physical threat. I wasn't, being threatened with violence or anything like that. I wasn't worried for my life, but it was just, hey, you're kind of in my house right now, and I don't think I gave you permission to be in here. Let's go. You should
Bizarre.
You should not be here any longer.
Yep. All right. I think we're gonna try to talk it up.
All right. You guys are nice.
Dan's like, I'd attack him.
I would start out that way, though, too.
Whatever. You're walking up kicking sand.
Tackling him. All right. Here's another one. Newspaper runs headline referring to President Obama as the N-word. A local paper, they're making national headlines. It's really a small paper, and they use the N-word in one of its headlines. Oddly enough, the paper, the piece was actually pro-Obama, suggesting that the far-right voters hate Obama because he's black. The funny thing is no one seems to care what's even in the article anymore because everybody's talking about that they used the N-word.
Yep.
Right? So here's the question. How do you think Jesus would handle the N-word if he were here today? A, he would never use it. He was too loving and caring to use a word that offends people. B, he would only use it when people offended by it weren't around. Or C, he would use it as if he were teaching the Sermon on the Sermon on the Mount. Wait, he would use it if he were teaching the Sermon on the Mount rap style. I totally messed up that sentence.
It had such a payoff too. Yeah. All right. So I'm in on A, but I'm in on A for a different reason. I don't think that he would not use it because he was afraid of offending somebody. I think he would not use it because there's no. I mean, it doesn't further the conversation. Like it doesn't do anything that he wants to communicate. Right. Like it doesn't.
How about the Pharisees? You
well, yeah, I mean, he was,
vipers.
I was gonna say he used offensive language to some people.
right, but that's not an insult.
oh yeah.
I mean,
it's the truth.
I mean, I get it. I mean, the word that we're talking about, the N word. I get it. Like, it's offensive because of how people use it. But
Right.
like, think about the way Jesus is trying to communicate. Like, how does that further anything that he's doing?
Yeah.
To say that. And so like, he's not worried about offending somebody. And if on his own he thought it was like, it's not an implicit right or wrong with it, but like, in general, no, I couldn't imagine he'd use it because it. Like if you're trying to talk to people about about aligning them and getting them to understand the things that if you're talking about, it doesn't benefit you to turn them off.
He did though with the Pharisees. I mean, some of the language he used with them
No,
would be as strong to them as what the N-word would be to people today.
No, that is not even close to a similar example. He's calling them names. He's like in reference to how they act. Here's a description of how you act that is offensive to how he represented it. That is not the connotation of that word. It's not the same thing. You can't just broadly say anything that people will say is offensive can be treated as if it's a brood of vipers. It's not the same thing. So no, I don't agree with I don't think that's the same example.
Yeah, I'm in for A as well. I don't think he would use it. It doesn't seem to have a point. I don't see the point of it used at all. But yeah,
Even if he was singing rap.
even if he was singing a rap, no, you don't have to use that word.
I've heard it
Went on
done
about
well
rap
without.
songs.
Yeah, I've heard many raps without that word. Does not need to be in there.
Yeah.
Seems gratuitous in many of the rap songs, but it does not need to be in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, from a broad conversation, I think there's a double standard to it. I think there is there's a cultural acceptance, but it depends who says it. Like there's some really silly lines on that get drawn in that discussion, but like in direct answer to your question, I don't think it furthers what Jesus is trying to do at all. So no, I just couldn't see him using it.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, it's fascinating to me how they are so afraid to use the word. They even had it blurred out in the title, and they'll use about any other word that could be offensive to anyone, but they won't. It's very political. I just find that fascinating.
Well, it's just like, I mean, here's the deal: is like ignore the fact on whether you think it's appropriate to use or not. It's not good business.
Yeah,
it's just flat out not good business to be using language like that. It brings you only negative attention, and like all attention is not good attention because like this will eventually go away. And there'll be a small town paper again, and they would have lost, I don't know, 15 people because they're upset about it. Yeah, it's just bad business. It's there again, like this is kind of I think what you're getting at is like Jesus isn't in business, right? He gets to say what he wants to say, and he says it clearly to the people that he wants to communicate to. He's not afraid of offending someone. So like that I would agree with. I just like the connotation of how that word is used generally. I just don't think it moves the needle for what Jesus is after, and so I don't think he would use it. All right, is that it? Is that what's happened in the world?
That's it.
Oh, man, there we go.
That's some good stuff.
So here's the deal. That's what's happened in the world. Now the next question is, what happened to Buva? Oh. So what happened? This happened to me with John Buva III. Go ahead.
Oh, that was great. Thank you for that.
You get 4 beeps. Go.
I get 4 beeps, and that's the introduction.
Make it happen.
So, as we all know, I like to talk about myself, and this is a new section where I get to talk about myself. I'm kind of excited. So, talking before the show today, was wondering about if I had some advice for people or not, or if it was just general, I don't know, just encouraging words about what's happening in my life. And I didn't think that it was worthy of quite giving advice to people, so we just kind of decided to throw it as I wanted to talk about me. So recently, in my existence, a lot of good stuff's been happening. I'm starting to take a stand in my faith that I haven't before, and I'm actually kind of reaching a point of, dare I say, spiritual maturity, where it's not so much just about what I'm getting out of my faith anymore. It's for a long time been that way. And I think that it's a lot that way for a lot of believers. I think that at the very beginning, you spend a lot of time, reassuring yourself and your faith in Jesus Christ. And I think it's different periods for different people, but I think you got to spend some time just kind of building yourself up. And that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years. I've really been trying to commit myself more and more to being under the rule of Christ as my King. And I've been trying to involve myself in the church more and more and more. And if you talk to the people that go to my church, they see me a lot more often than they did at one point in time. So I think I'm going in the right direction. But Ben kind of just gave me a look, but whatever. So one of the coolest things is I'm starting to actually do things that are outward in my faith, and I'm starting to talk to more people about my faith and about my love of Christ, and some crazy stuff's been happening recently, and I just kind of wanted to share it as encouragement. Recently, with spending time downtown here in Des Moines, I think that I've been presented with a lot of situations to start professing my faith to more and more people. And I was talking before the show about if I didn't know if that was me being talked to by the Holy Spirit more often, or if it was me being talked to by the Spirit the exact same amount, but now I'm actually listening. Had a conversation with a gentleman downtown about Christ. He was defending against it and defending against the faith very, very fervently with a lot of people and a couple people around, and I just kind of jumped in the conversation. I'm walking down Court Avenue and walk past this conversation. I hear him talking about the crucifixion. And first thought was to just kind of walk past and not think about it whatsoever. But then I kind of had that little voice in me that I attribute to the Holy Spirit that I needed to do something. So I turn around and I walk back to the guy and I introduce myself and I say, hey, I heard the name Jesus and I like that. And I'm not here to argue with you. I just want to kind of listen in. And he goes, perfect. I'd love to have you listen. Introduce myself to a couple other people. And we sat there and we talked for like half an hour about Jesus Christ. And about him being my savior and the love that God has for us, and God being the created universe, and Jesus Christ dying on the cross. And I told him less about the fact of the crucifixion, more about what it actually means. Less about the history of it, more about the actual feeling and the actual reason it happened. So that's been happening. And then also with a couple other interactions that I'm finding myself in, with a friend of my brother's, talking with her nonstop multiple times just about kingdom living stuff, and really answering questions for her that I have only recently started to answer myself. And it's been such an amazing feeling. And even more, I can't even tell how many stories have happened. People talking to people on Facebook, talking to people in real life at work and things like this that have just been kind of coming up. So I suppose I can kind of turn it into advice and encouragement. It is such an amazing feeling to have gone from serving myself, which is perfectly fine. That's part of what it is with the promise that I have with God. God's here for me too. Serving myself in my faith and strengthening myself and strengthening my faith that I have in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, looking into things that I get out of it. It has been such an amazing feeling to transition from that to actually having outward works. And I don't mean to sound like, hey, look at me, what I'm doing. It's all God. It's more attributing what God's doing in my life, and it's been incredible to just kind of watch what God's doing with me, and truly feel like something's happening in my life where it's not just me being served by my faith and just me and God. And I know that's enough, but it's been really cool to have things happen outside of me and talking to more people about Christ and talking to more people about my faith. And I think that I'd like to say that as encouragement for people. If you find yourself in your faith, and if you're newer in faith, or if you've had faith for years or anything like that, you are here as God's son or daughter, and that's absolutely true. You have the benefits yourself of the relationship that you have with Christ, and you also are in the salvation, things like that. But there's something different about just pulling that for yourself and sharing that. It's something completely different from switching from reassuring yourself that you have this salvation to pulling other people into this salvation and talking about it with people so that God can work with the seeds that you're trying to plant and the stuff you're throwing. And that's my encouragement to every single believer out there that is having that kind of situation. For a while, I started to feel stagnant, that I wasn't actually participating in the church and I wasn't an active member of the body, but I was a bystander that was just receiving the wealth of my faith. I'm actually trying to be a member of the body of Christ, and I'm actually trying to be the hands and the feet, or whatever part of the body that I am. So it's not so much about asking God to start speaking into your life and asking the Holy Spirit. It may be something where you just need to start listening better, to where, your faith kind of comes to a point where it's no longer just looking for you, but it's also looking for how you can affect other people's lives, and how you can spread the good news of Jesus Christ to other people who don't have it. So God's been working hardcore in my life just within the last couple months. It's been incredible. And that's my encouragement and my advice to you guys is just achieve that. And I know that I'm not even close to the pinnacle of where I'm supposed to be, and I'm so excited about that because I know that there's still so much more that God can do in my life and still so much more that I can do for other people, and I'm really excited about that. It's been an amazing experience so far, and I'm so excited to keep going.
That's like basic discipleship right there. Is you're a disciple when you're making disciples.
Right.
I mean, otherwise you're just a believer.
Yeah.
And Jesus didn't
And that's
look
what I
for
felt like
believers.
for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
I felt like a believer of Jesus Christ, but I wasn't a disciple, and I wasn't, going out and talking to people. It was few and far between that I would ever answer anyone's question of who have you talked to about Jesus lately. I couldn't answer that question for a long time.
Sure. But Jesus called us to make disciples,
Right.
not believers. So really, we have miserably failed the last few decades in America, and it's become this consumer thing where we've fed what you're describing your earlier faith was.
Yeah, and we've
encouraged it.
We've
I'm the
sold church to
professional here.
people.
I need to teach you, and I will do all the professional stuff, and you just show up and pay money.
Right.
And it's like, no, that's totally not scriptural.
Yep.
Cool. That's good to see God busting through.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. And I'm so far from anything good, and I'm excited about that because that means I got a lot of work to do. So I'm excited. God's been doing crazy stuff in my life.
Yeah, that's and that actually is the broad point is God's not asking you to try harder. He's asking you to let Him do the work.
Yeah, that's true.
Let God be God. And sometimes I think we get like a real downer of a Christian experience. We live in a kingdom in which we acknowledge vocally a king and maybe even our mind's a king, but then like we try to do the king's work.
Right.
And then show it to him and say, yeah, you approve? Yeah. What are
God,
your thoughts?
look what I've been doing lately, God. Have you seen all my works?
Aren't you lucky?
Yeah, exactly. Aren't you excited you got me on your team now?
Really worked out for you.
Yeah, we're
buddy.
really gonna start shaking kingdoms.
I was in the prayer room this morning and like that was one of the thoughts that came into mind is like, let God do His work.
Yeah.
Let God do His work. Like God doesn't need you to do His work. He'll do His work. He's asking you to be obedient to whatever that is and what that impacts your life. And that's a de-stressor right there. It's a de-stressor to be like, yeah, you know what? That's not my job. Yeah. That's not my responsibility. Not my responsibility. Not my responsibility. Not my responsibility. Like I'm obedient to one thing, and that's whatever God has got going on. And then as long as I'm obedient to that, like the broad consequences, good or bad, as I see them, they're God's. They're God's to deal with.
It's funny because I used to. This is awful to look back on, but I've grown, I promise. But I used to look at it as like a quota, and there was just this kind of like tally marker that God was having of how many conversations I've had about Him, and how many people I've brought to Jesus. And I started thinking about that just within the last couple months because I started. I'm in a discipleship class right now, and I'm learning about how to truly express my faith in a way that is glorifying to God and is the way that I'm stepping out of the way. And it's more along the lines of, hey, it's not my job to win people over to Christ. What I say is not going to win people over. What God does is what's going to win people over. But I used to look at it from a quota perspective. And I used to look at it of, how many people have I brought to Jesus? And how many people have I personally affected to the point where I'm winning people over for the kingdom of God?
Yeah.
And I really got discouraged about that.
And what's the better question? How many seeds am I spreading?
Right.
The sower, He
Yeah.
just spread the seed. God worked out the rest. He did. His job is to figure that
Absolutely.
stuff out. So we have been asking the wrong question forever. And that's probably preacher's fault because we always say, how many have you won to Jesus?
Right, exactly.
Rather than saying, how many seeds of the gospel have you shared? How many times have you just opened your mouth and not worried about what happened?
That's one of the biggest things that has helped me recently has been, I was talking to Ben before the show about just me getting out of the way. And just like Ben said, it's not us. How self-righteous am I if I think that the words that I'm saying is what's going to win somebody over to Christ? That's awful. That's not what it's about. And I'm really trying to fully understand the sower portion of, I can only do so much. It's not my works. It's God's works through me. I'm just a body. I am the vessel that's there. God's going to work through me however He wants to work, whether that be me getting spat at my face or punched or shoved or told to shut up, or if that's me having random conversations till 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, just talking and answering questions for people.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter where I'm at. It doesn't matter who I'm talking to. It's God's work. It's not mine.
Well, and to use another plant example, think of we're talking about trees bearing good and bad fruit, right?
Mhm.
Like, what if you're the tree? Well, the tree doesn't do anything. Like it
just
does
sits
what
there.
it does, right?
It just stands there.
And so like the tree hangs out, right?
Uh-huh.
Who provides the water that grows the tree?
God.
Who provides the soil that the tree grows in?
God.
You know, the tree
We can
bears
keep doing this. This is fun.
the tree bears fruit based upon God's provision.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the good tree, and I actually think it's a pretty solid example. Like we try to be the running tree, the walking tree that like grabs people, shakes them down a little bit.
And then
That's like Lord of the Rings or something. You can't. Yeah, it's a different kingdom.
Exactly. Our job is to be faithful, to be the right tree,
Right.
so that we produce good fruit. But it's God's provision that causes that fruit to come to bear. Like no strength of mine will cause me to bear good fruit. It just won't. And so if that's all it is, then my job is to be the tree, is to basically do what God has created me to do. Yep. And from there, He will produce the fruit. He will send the guy that picks it off, you know, and He will continue to provide the soil and the rain. And that's kind of how it works. And it doesn't the fear of saying things like that, and saying that we're your seed sowers as an example is that you can do the opposite with that. You can say, okay, well, I don't have to do anything. But it only works as a premise if your underlying thought is I'm being obedient to what God has for me in my life, right?
Yep.
Like Jesus laid out the basic nature of what being obedient looks like, what it looks like to live in the kingdom. So if you're doing that, faithful in the means, right? If you're faithful in the means, God takes care of the ends, and you should stop stressing out about the ends. And there might be some guy, and 1,000 people have joined the kingdom because of what he said, and it might be you and one person has joined the kingdom because of what you said. But the distinction between the both of you might be, as long as both of you are being obedient, that's the same work in God's kingdom, because that guy didn't grab 1,000 and you didn't grab a 1.
Well, look at Jeremiah. He preached for decades and had 0 converts.
Exactly.
He made it to the Bible.
Yeah.
He got his own book.
He's in. Because like in those
I never thought about it.
in those two examples is like that guy didn't grab the 1,000 and you didn't grab the 1. God grabbed all 1,001.
Yeah.
Right.
Like all he's doing is through the obedience of his people are joining the kingdom.
Yeah.
And that's all his hand anyway.
Right. So so ultimately, remember, it's not you, it's God.
Yeah.
Let that happen. It's not you, it's God. That's what's going on in my life.
All right. That's what happened to Buva.
Yeah.
There it is. All right. So last week we were talking about one of the what's happening questions had to do with the Hobby Lobby ruling, and the basic nature of Dan's question was, let's say that you had to, as a business, you're a business owner and you had to cover these things. You're required to. What are your 3 reactions? One is that you do it because it's the law and you don't have a choice. 2 was that you fight it tooth and nail, and you'll go out of business. They'll put you in prison. You'll pay the fines, whatever it is. You're going to use all your possible resources to fight doing it. And the third one is that you just close your business. You're not going to play in that ball field. You're not going to be susceptible to that rule. You're just going to have to close your business down. And I was a hard C that I'm just going to close the business down. And the general rebuttal, hopefully I'm representing it fairly, because I actually agree with it, is that the problem is like if you take your ball and go home, like the law of the land still exists. And whatever it is that you're going to do, you're going to be part of it or party to it at some form or the other, right? Just because you don't run the business, you're going to go take a job with someone else who's also susceptible to the same law. You're still part of the cog. You're still a cog in the machine. And also, if that's the distinction you're going to make, you're kind of screwed because you interact with a bunch of nefarious characters on any given basis, including the government that you're dealing with. And so you don't really have an option to bow out completely of this circumstance. So like really, where does the line exist? And so I think that's a completely legitimate argument. I think it actually makes a lot of sense. And if you think about in Jesus' time, I mean, you're still rendering to Caesar what is Caesar's, and that government was doing terrible things with the money, including persecuting Christians. And you were still required to give the taxes. So I'm afraid that my answer, biblically, here's what I think still has me in the C camp, although I'm still admitting that there's problems. There's problems with the C camp for the reasons I just outlined. But I was thinking of Revelation where Jesus is talking to the 7 churches, and one of the things that he's upset with is basically they're being part of the trade guilds that are having sex with these temple prostitutes. Basically, the things that they have to do to be able to be part of the guilds to make a living, right? And part of it is, you're worshiping these idols, these gods that aren't Jesus, so that you can be part of the guild because all the guilds had a patron god. And so Jesus was very unhappy with that. Like, you're not permitted to direct your worship elsewhere simply because that's how you make your living. That's not going to work. Like if you just have to stop making your living that way. And so like that was the one biblical example that I had thought of that I think bolsters the C position. I don't know if that's a distinction from an idol worship versus, say, I'm kind of a tertiary party to people doing things that they don't have to do but can do because of a law that was passed. I don't know. I'm not solid on that. But that did kind of reinforce what I was thinking was like if the thing that you want to do for a living can't be done in the service of God, then you should stop doing it. Like it is not worth fighting for to say God did not create you to do work for his glory that does not glorify him and can't and is not able to. And so like again, I don't know. That's still a big and outstanding moral question for me as to where that actually sits. And I think the case for bowing out completely, it can't be that either. So I don't know where that line is, but that was as I was thinking this week. That's kind of where my thoughts went.
And the different thing is in our American system, part of our system is to fight it. And it's not like when the dictator says, thou shalt whatever, and you have no choice.
Yeah, right.
That's part of the system. That's why we have Supreme Court, and that's why I went to the Supreme Court, and that's why they pursued how they did, was so it would get to the Supreme Court.
True.
So that's why I said I would fight it all the way.
But what you said was that also you would continue to pay fines and be put into prison, which means that it had gone outside of the normal legislative means or the judicial means to fight it. Because the normal judicial means don't cause you to go into prison, right? The normal judicial means it will cost you the court case, and if the law stands, there will be fines associated with it. The question is, do you persist after that? And that's actually how I took what you were saying, is that like even if you lost, you did the normal societal means to fight it, you lost, you would continue to pay the fines until you went bankrupt, as opposed to like either bowing out or that's the only option you have, basically.
Because like in that case, there's nothing you could do to make me pay to kill a baby.
You're right.
And that's specific. I mean, which is different than like the temple issue. I mean,
you can't continue owning your business and being in that trade guild. And if that's the only way that you get business, you have to stop. You have to get out of the business.
Yeah, I would probably let it like die on a vine type thing. I'd still try, and it just wouldn't. No one would buy my stuff, and I'd finally go. I guess go out of business.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I suppose in this instance, the example, what you could do is basically get down to the threshold employees where you don't have to carry the coverage, and then try to remain a small company and just refuse to get any bigger. There's a potential to play in that market. So I don't know. I'm going to be honest and say I don't have a good answer here. That's something where I'm still based upon the parameters that we were discussing. I'm not sure the right way to handle that is. I'd have to keep praying through that and hopefully the Holy Spirit to help a little bit out, because I'm just that's
it's hard to make vague. What would you do?
Yeah, and it's a tough thing because you're right though. Is like the Bible didn't necessarily contemplate the environment politically that we are in. It's not that it's short on guidance. I just to what extent, like anybody can bow out of society completely and thus remove themselves from the temptation that society provides, but it's hard to win people to the kingdom of Christ outside of society as well. And so like that's a common balance. All we're doing is taking that particular thought and exploding it up into a giant policy decision as it comes to being a business owner and your impact your employees in the world around you, because as a business owner you're being required to do something that you don't believe in. So anyway, that was my answer. I said I would think about it, and that's kind of where it was. I don't think it moved the needle on my position at all, which was a position of ambiguity because I'm not sure. But that's where I'm at. That's what happened this week. So, all right. So, the big question on the docket here had to do with marriage advice. I ran across Marriage Month tip of the day. Say great job to your man. So the question is this helpful? And maybe it's a glimpse into your marriage. So say as much as you deem appropriate as to whether this would actually sound like something your wife would say. So, Marriage Month tip of the day. A tip for women. Instead of the I love you type words that come naturally, purposefully look for daily opportunities to say what matters most to a man. Thank you. Great job. And I'm so proud of you. We women love to feel loved. We delight knowing that our man adores and cherishes us. We feel special and secure when we hear I love you. In fact, for many of us, feeling loved is the whole point of having the relationship to begin with! ! So it is a huge surprise to find that for men, that's not the point at all. And knowing what is the point has the potential to change everything in your marriage. Women, do you want to have a great relationship? Do you want your man to love being with you every day? Do you want this to sound like a late night infomercial? Do you want him to feel cared for? It may sound crazy, But for a guy, there is nothing more appealing, more powerful, more wonderful than feeling that you have noticed what he does in life for you, for the family, at his job, and that you think it was good. So, base question, and we'll say marriage is fine. I'll go with other relationships too, so that Buva doesn't feel like a wart.
Thanks.
I don't,
Single guy.
does that on your level of priorities, things that make you feel affirmed in a marriage? That sound right, Dan?
I will say this. I think there's been multiple books written over the years with multiple research and surveys done, and always the top 3 needs that go to the top in these surveys are the sexual need, they word it differently in each book, but the fellowship, I don't like to hang out. I want my wife to just kind of hang out with me. You don't even have to talk to me, just be there.
Yep.
And then the admiration type of thing, kind of feed the ego. And I've seen that over and over again. Like, I can see it in my own self. I can see it in so many people I've talked to through the years that I would actually agree with that. They want. I remember early in our marriage, I was doing a drywall project, and I was I'd never done drywall before, and I was working on this thing for hours, and I had like 80% of it was really looking fine, and maybe 20% was like, we need to work on that. And I brought my wife downstairs, come and look at this, and all I wanted her to do was see the 80%.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a split second. Oh, what are you gonna do about that? All she could look at, and I was just like deflated. And I thought, then later I'm like, what a fool! What really?
Yeah.
That demoralized me. you know. And but so there is something about us, I think, in our ego that we kind of like to be, built up a little bit.
Yeah.
And a wife who will continually tear down a guy will definitely hinder him in his life.
Yeah.
In career and everything, it just will.
No, and I actually here's where I'm struggling. I think with this particular piece of advice is that I think it's true. I struggle with whether it should be.
Yeah,
kind of what you were getting at, right? Like
Yeah.
you're, maybe I mowed the backyard, and oh, hey, thanks for mowing the backyard. Were you gonna weed whack tonight?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. I see him.
I kind of, and the thing is like, okay, yeah, that's legitimate. I probably should do that. But you're right. There is kind of a need to be like, oh, I just wanted,
You know what every preacher says on Sunday afternoon? Hey, what'd you think?
Oh yeah.
At least the first 20 years. I mean, I don't anymore. I don't care. It's like whatever. I don't. But I mean, I was. If she didn't say something, I would ask. It'd take a couple hours. I'd try to pretend like it was no big deal.
Maybe
like
she would say,
oh, by the way, what did you? But that's all I was thinking about. It's like, what does she think?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Really, does it matter? I mean, evidently it does.
Yeah. It's so. And maybe that's the well. Here, let me continue with advice. Men are different from us. They don't doubt whether we love them. They doubt whether they are any good at what they do for us. I think that's true. The cry of a man's heart isn't "Am I lovable?" but "Do I measure up?" And more precisely, does she think I measure up? Ladies, that's a very powerful position you have there, and I think it's pretty accurate. Like, your man, as passive as he might seem, he really wants to impress you. And I suppose the conundrum you put the ladies in with this type of advice is if your man is not impressive, like.
You should have chose better.
So here's the dichotomy, right? It's like, what are you asking women to do? Are you asking a woman to look at your drywall project and not mention the 20%? What if it's not good?
Well, at least not first.
Just don't open with it.
Exactly. Yeah. Because everybody has something you can affirm them in. Yeah, everybody is not a Superman and a great athlete or a great intelligent or whatever their thing is, but they have something that you can really build up on. And don't lie to them. I mean, don't be fake. I mean, there were times I had real flops, say sermons.
Yeah.
And it was. She never lied to me. She'd always say, well, I would have maybe, like, I know. I just wanted to see what you'd say.
Yeah.
Because that's no good either.
Well, so maybe here's what I wouldn't want as a man. Here's what I don't want. I don't want disingenuous.
Yeah, don't patronize
I don't
me.
want you to lie to me. I don't want you to say, hey, that's great when it's not great. But like, I guess maybe what I would, based upon this type of advice, what I would say is like, I actually want you to be legitimately jazzed about that 80%.
Yeah,
I want you
you're
to look
getting
and
better.
say, hey man, that looks really good, and like, not just, hey, you're telling me that. Like, I want you to want to encourage me and to see that makes me happy and makes me feel like I'm providing for my family. To say that, I don't need you to tell me the 20% is great if it's not. But like, I don't want you to fake the 80% either. Mm-hmm. And so, and because I think otherwise what this comes off as is like, we need you to lie to your husband. Like, even if he stinks at it, your job is to build him up. And men can smell that too.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know what that means for someone to have to actually want to to be able to say, hey man, thanks for mowing that lawn. I know you had a long day at work, and I know you probably just wanted to come in and sit down, but thanks for getting out there and doing that. Do you have time to weed whack tonight? I'm like, well, yeah, I could probably do that.
Even better.
That's
if we did
probably
this.
yeah. So I don't know, Booba, what's your experience in this matter? You got like 30 seconds.
So I don't know if we're actually talking about the same thing here, guys. we're talking about the article seems to be about whether or not you say I love you versus great job.
No, it was specifically saying say great job.
Yeah. I already know you love me.
Okay, well then I listened to it wrong because I thought it said rather than saying I love you and things like that come naturally, say great job, which I disagree with. So I must.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, she was advocating say great job. Here, we're going to pick this up after the break. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us on Live from the Path. You can go visit us on the website at livefromthepath.org. Ah, crap. I ran out of time. I'll put a commercial in for it. We got a big show coming up at Zeke's in Ames on next Tuesday. You got to come out to that thing. There's going to be 4 great bands. I'll get you a commercial out. You guys can listen during the week. All right, thanks for listening to Live from the Path. We'll, if you're on the podcast, hang out. We'll be right back with you. I got to start making a list, man.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so but to move to your point, so yeah, so she did say, her advice to the woman was, and she didn't say don't say I love you. What she's saying is that...
She said rather than saying I love you, and things that come naturally to you, say things like great job and stuff like that.
So I think her example was to imply rather than saying things that otherwise you would want to hear, because that's generally what you're looking for. Here are some things. Here's an example of what guys would want to hear that make them feel valued in the relationship.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
That is what she's
Because
saying.
I hear you love me when you say that drywall rocks.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I find it awkward if my wife goes, hey, I love you. I'm like, well, yeah, that's why we got married. I'm with you.
Maybe I'm just a different kind of dude. I could care less about the great job. I could care less. I don't care about words of affirmation. When it comes to, hey, you did an awesome job, hey. Ultimately, I feel like if I didn't do it right, you're going to tell me. That's where I'm at.
Uh-huh.
I'm not married, but I've had this in relationships before where I've gotten the great job and I'm like, thanks. It's like, hey, thanks for doing that. I really appreciate you doing it. It's like, yeah, you asked me to do it, so I did it.
Oh, well, okay, that's a little different.
Then maybe I'm even more confused because the whole great job thing, I could care less.
Noted, but like your example actually provides that, hey, will you do this, and you do it. There's another thing, like if your role in the house as the man is to provide for your family, like certain things that you're doing, and she says, thank you, looks great. I think that's what she's talking about, not, hey, we take out the garbage, and then she goes, oh, great job taking out that garbage. Like that's she directly told you to do that, and you just did what you were told.
That's way to not drop it.
Seems like a different circumstance.
Oh, I'm not seeing any difference in the circumstances.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just a weird guy because I do like hearing the whole I love you thing. I do like hearing that those portions of it. I don't think there's a difference between dudes and gals when it comes to that stuff.
Well, how about like in the workplace? Would you rather have the boss come by every day and say, hey, I'm just glad you're here, or wow, great job on that project, you really excelled in this area, you really...
I don't look at those the same, so I don't see the correlation between the...
What? Well, just answer this question then, regardless of whether you think it's appropriate.
I like hearing that I did a good job at work, yeah. I like that kind of affirmation.
Because
in like a one-on-one relationship, I'm not... I guess that's not what I look for.
Because really the issue is more our egos than it is them.
What do you mean by that?
How I feel appreciated by my wife, or by where I work, or by the police officer who pulls me over and says, you just did a great job running that red light. Whatever.
So from what I'm drawing from the article, it seems like they're trying to make a distinction of guys like to hear this, guys don't like to hear the same thing.
No, I told you that already, that is not the case. She's not saying exclusively guys do not want to hear I love you. What she's saying is men like to hear this, slightly like different from the thing that really trips your trigger. This is something that helps to build your man up. She's not saying men hate I love you.
No, I'm not, and I haven't once said that.
What you're implying is that if it's a dichotomy, that it's to choose one or the other. I think what she's saying is that like your man may not get the same thing out of looking you in the eye and saying I love you as, hey, thanks for providing for us.
Gotcha. Okay, so then I was taking it as a one or the other kind of deal.
No, I don't think so. That's not what I got from it.
Well, then we heard it 2 different ways then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe you hear like a lady. That's why you like the I love yous.
Sure.
You don't like being affirmed.
Sure. I'm okay with that. I like being loved.
All right. So Dan, that sounds helpful to you? I think so.
Yeah.
It sounds helpful to me.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, here's the deal: is like but do you hear what Buva said though? He said he doesn't think there's a difference between men and women on this issue. But like both of you and I, both said that there was a difference, which implies that I think Buva thinks that we're ladies. That's what I took from your implication.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
Because
Wow.
otherwise, what are you saying? Because like
No, my deal is I don't.
maybe
think-
it's not. Maybe it's different. Not different for you. That's all right. I don't know if it's fair to you for you to say blanketly. I don't think men and women are different on this issue. You may not be different on this issue.
Okay, fair enough. I don't see a huge difference when it comes to men and women when it comes to the emotions that we feel. I think there's a difference in the way that we portray them
Express
and
them.
express them and stuff
Sure.
like that. But I think that a dude likes hearing that I love you just as much as a lady does.
I think that's different. I think that's an expression of "I love you," and I think that's what she's getting at, and that's kind of what Dan and I are talking
Gotcha.
about.
And cool.
Yeah.
And if that's the situation, that's the situation. Like I said before, I did not take it that way.
Yeah. I don't know about that stuff. Let's see. Let me see if I can find out her final deal here. We have no idea that he is longing for effort. Yeah. So I guess I do still struggle with this though, because you should do the right thing regardless. You should continue to serve your wife, and maybe this is where this is born out of, is like, if my goal in life is to serve my wife, is to care for my family, it certainly does feel good to know that I'm doing that. For you to have some sort of indication that is getting done. The promises that I made to my wife, as far as she's concerned, are being fulfilled.
Okay.
I love you doesn't communicate that necessarily. It doesn't communicate that expense. It's not specific, right? People say I love you for all kinds of different things. Specifically, if you're saying, hey, I know you worked hard this week. Thanks for working hard to provide for the family. Like that specifically comments to something where like that's what I promised I would do. I have some sort of feedback. Like I think I'm doing it, but I have some sort of feedback that indicates to me that my wife, who is the one that I'm working for, agrees and says that I'm doing what I said I would do, and that is affirming. That feels good. And it, on the opposite side, it is very deflating to find out that, like, let's say you thought you worked hard all week, and like whatever it is that you produced, your wife was not happy with, or otherwise didn't give her what she expected. That is very deflating, because basically you wanted to provide for her. And if your impression from her is that you didn't, because you cut the lawn poorly, or you don't know how to hang drywall right, or like you're not working very hard, or there's not enough money around in the house, and that responsibility falls on you, and she can't buy the groceries she wants because you didn't make enough money, like there is an element to that is very discouraging, because you're like, but I wanted very much to provide for my family, and I feel like I'm not doing it. Now I think that there is a bit of a machismo bucket there, that shift. Here's the deal: is I think a lot of that is shifted culturally, because we've pushed some of the traditional dude responsibilities onto, say, entire family, or onto lady, and so guys actually lose some of that because the responsibility no longer sits on them. And like whatever, debate whether you feel like that's appropriate or not, but like I think that was a lot more full. You saw guys do some outrageous things in the name of pride for providing for their family 50 years ago, 70 years ago. And we have lost some of that. Pride is probably good to go. The reasons for that shifting, I'm not sure that I think are a great path. But yeah, that's I think the root of it is. It isn't a guy to say like, hey, look at me, I'm awesome. The guy in the right mind wants to serve his wife and likes to know, not necessarily be acknowledged because he says, I want you to tell me how great I am, but wants to know that the work that he's doing is being received in the way that he's doing it.
I think that I can agree with that statement, just because I don't want it to be the whole prideful thing. I don't want to be a prideful beast that I'm just like, I have to hear that I'm doing a great job.
No, and that's the wrong way to handle it. And if,
Yeah.
and if that's what your buffering is, that makes sense to me. It's
Yeah.
like you don't, and that I think is my hesitation on the advice to begin with. From like, should you have to say, oh, great job on that lawn, buddy? I'm like, no, like that's not the point. The point is that like I'm trying to serve her, and it sucks if I did it poorly.
Yeah, loving her
No one
financially,
wants to know
loving
that.
her practically, bringing the food to the however you want to say it.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think that some people could take that the wrong way of it being, hey, look at me and how well I did. And that's kind of where I was stemming it from. But I agree with your statement of if it's not from a prideful standpoint, if it is, just affirmation of, hey, this is my commitment to you, to love you and honor you in this way. I know that I'm doing it by you telling me. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that the honest truth is that men can be wounded by that more than you would think they should be.
Yeah, I can see that.
Not as they may be resilient in other parts of their lives, but like an unaffirming wife. And again, I'm not asking you to lie here, but like someone where like if you are trying to provide for your family and it feels like you think it's happening, but your wife doesn't seem to acknowledge it or has a different impression. It could even be true, but it's very deflating for a man if that is his if he's not meeting up with his responsibilities. And maybe that's a man thing. Maybe it's just like a personality type that bends to guys. But I think that is true. So like I would probably agree mostly with this advice to ladies. Men, I would say, don't. You have a responsibility either way. So like you're gonna have to learn to deal with this if your wife is unaffirming. But just know, I guess, as a man speaking, I'm probably can be over impacted by this. More than I would like to admit, more than makes me feel comfortable. And it doesn't feel very strong to admit that, but like more than it makes me feel comfortable to say I can be impacted and deflated if I feel like my wife or my family doesn't value what I feel like I'm contributing to them.
There's a lot of truth to that old saying that behind every great man is a great woman.
Yeah.
I mean, there really is. It's
with a rolling pin saying, cut the lawn.
do it better this time.
And then I will affirm you when you do it right.
No more patches, and I'll tell you you did a great job.
That's right. I want the crisscross pattern.
Oh, man. Have you guys ever tried that?
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever really succeeded greatly.
No, I can't do it right. Maybe I got a cheap mower, but I also have I have a riding lawnmower, and it was closer to an acre when I bought it, and it made sense to use. And then I moved to a house in which I just do not necessarily need a riding lawnmower. I mean, my yard's not like tiny, but it's like half an acre. It's just not worth. Or it's probably less than that. And so, but it's all I have. And I can't.
So you look like the laziest dude on the planet.
I do. The problem, and it's not like a
Neighbors push
fancy.
mower.
It's not a fancy riding mower either. So like, it doesn't make quick turns. It's real bulky and stuff.
It doesn't matter. You are sitting the entire time.
Yeah,
that's what matters.
No, but the point is that like, I can't do fancy patterns because like I have a smaller yard. There's a garden there. There's kids' toys and crap. There's a shed. There's a swing set. You can't get around in this stuff with any type of fidelity. So, the yard just looks ridiculous.
So here's my admittance on this situation. So, being an unmarried man and eventually wanting to be a married man, I'm starting to quickly realize that I really need to develop some practical skills.
Yeah.
There are many things there are a few things that I'm really good at. Most of them have nothing to do with practicality of loving and serving my wife. I'm not great at yard work.
Uh-huh.
I'm not a very handy man when it comes to fixing stuff and don't know anything about cars.
Yeah,
don't do drywall painting, stuff like that. I should really pick up on some stuff. Like I can do dishes really well. I'm good at that. Don't get me wrong. I can do that. But when it comes to like fixing stuff and being the man of the house and making sure stuff gets taken care of, oh man, I got a lot of room to grow. I need to just hang out with some dudes. They can show me how to do this.
Yeah,
stuff.
that's the right way to do it. Yeah.
I'm just gonna like sit at people's houses and be like, "Hey, man, notice you had to drywall. You wanna teach me?
Can I come by?
Can I come by and you teach me how to do that?"
Now that being said, it's important to note that none of that ever shows up on the top 3 need surveys that women have.
Oh no, that's true. That's true.
They want conversation.
Hey,
where they get to talk.
Oh.
You
ruined it.
They want you to not fix them. You're a fixer. Most guys are.
Yeah.
We're fixers.
Yeah.
They come in and say I had a bad day at work, and your first thing is, well, quit.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah,
that's not
true.
what they want to hear.
Oh.
That's not what they want to hear. They want to hear you say, oh, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Tell me about her.
Yeah.
Who's
Tell me
causing
more.
the
Tell me how mean that person was.
Uh-huh.
That's all they want to do for hours.
Dan, you might have just saved my next.
I think I did.
Yeah.
And affection. Did I say affection? What's the third one? Affection, conversation, and
Close personal time with me.
yeah. Just
With you
see,
specifically?
it's different than guys. With guys,
That goes back to your comment earlier of you not wearing tight shirts that that affect the collective mind of women alive today. Thank you
I
both.
am what women want to go.
For me.
They wrote a new book. They said, "What's your love language?" Ben.
Ben.
Next.
That's
give me more
awesome.
Ben.
Give me more Ben. Oh, Ben. Man.
My wife has over-affirmed me.
All right. Well, Dan, thank you again for saving my next relationship.
Yeah.
I
Just
appreciate
remember that. I want that to haunt you the next time you're trying to. Your first response is, "Well, I would just listen more."
Okay, so that's totally me, and I've never thought about it from that standpoint. I thought it was good to be a fixer.
You were being nice.
No.
You're not
Yeah,
being
it's
nice.
like, hey, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
Instead
no.
of just talking about it, let's do something about
Yeah.
it. It's like let's eliminate the problem then.
No, you know what? Vanilla Ice contributed to that. Like he created this culture where like you got a problem, you'll all solve it, right? Check out the beat while the DJ revolves.
I was gonna say,
That's-
is this about to happen?
It's a Vanilla Ice problem, and it's created a generation of men who handle it incorrectly because they think Ice handles it this way. Maybe I will too.
I have never thought to myself, man, I wonder what Vanilla Ice would do in this situation. And I think that's done me pretty well so far. So apparently
Obviously-
I have been. Apparently I have been
That's
doing
right.
what would Vanilla Ice do.
You're
So,
easily influenced by media. You just don't know it.
apparently so. I didn't realize it this whole time. Guys, thank you for the rebuke. I appreciate it, guys.
We'll save you. Dear Life in the Path, I am planning to attend a birthday party for my friend Sophia, who is turning 50. When I mentioned to her that I would be shopping for her birthday gift, she asked that while I was shopping for her, that I also pick up a gift for her friend Stacy. I have met Stacy only a couple of times, and I think it was extremely nervy for Sophia to ask me to do it. The party is only for her, and I don't see the connection. Sophia has done this in the past, and I'm trying to think of a way to tell her I'd rather not buy a gift for her friend. How should I handle this?
Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I was like, so it's a gift to give to the other friend, or a gift to give to the friend to give to the 50-year-old. Like, well, my other friend doesn't have a
No,
gift
it
for me
says that I
either.
also pick up a gift for her friend Stacy.
Yeah.
So
So-
give to her.
Yeah, it sounds like to give her her
I
friend
was
a
gonna
gift.
say, I'm
We're having
out
a
buying
double
Ben.
party?
I'm out buying Ben a gift, and Ben says, "Hey, while you're out, get a gift for Dan.
Pick something up for Dan.
Pick something up for Dan." And I
would
go,
appreciate that.
I don't really know Dan that well.
What's your advice here?
Oh,
I
no.
just say no. Yeah. Why is it a big deal? You're a grown woman. Just say no. Just say, hey, I don't really know Tammy that well. I'm getting a gift for you.
Yeah.
If
I don't
you'd
want
like
to
to go
cheapen my
purchase
gift
something
for you by getting something else for someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's all right. I'm okay with that. I'd rather we both have something.
Okay, then you can go get her something. I'm gonna get you something because you're my friend.
Oh, but you said it was because you didn't want to cheapen my gift. I'll take something cheaper to help out Stacy.
It has nothing to do with expenses.
That's what Dan said.
It
Oh,
is for
that's
me.
not what I'm saying.
It's all about expenses for
I
me.
care. I mean, even if you ask me to go pick her up a pack of erasers, like I don't care. I don't know this gal. I'm not gonna do it.
You heartless boob. What if, like a guy, what if she needs help, wants some erasers?
Of course, there's no way that I could come out of this not. looking
I had a $25 budget
Always.
for your gift. You now have $12.50.
Yeah, exactly.
And she says that I'm fine with that. Then
Okay.
you
Sandra?
socks gift?
You get socks.
Yeah, exactly. Sandra, you are getting something from the Target dollar section. And so is your friend.
If you're standing on principle, I wouldn't give her anything to play with. I wouldn't give her money to deal with and say, here's how you can space it out
yeah,
between
I
me and
just be like,
Stacy.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not buying.
Say,
gifts.
no, she can buy her own gift. I assume that she's a big boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not buying something for you. I don't know that gal. I'm not going to buy her gift.
Yeah, if this is your friend, just straight up say, hey, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
not.
I'm going to pass.
In
Yeah,
fact, I would
if
say,
my
hey,
buddy,
I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that?
right, exactly. If one of my friends calls me up and I said, "Hey, man, I'm out birthday shopping for you," and he says, "Hey, dude, can you get something for this guy too? I'm sure he would love a gift."
Yeah, you would
I'd go,
love some-
no, thanks, but I got your gift and I'm pretty excited about it.
So here, actually, see, this goes back to the previous article, though. These are problems that ladies have. Ladies have this type of problem. This is not a man problem. This would never come
I was
up.
gonna say, yeah,
And I
just tell
wouldn't-
the guy no.
I can't think of a guy in the world who'd be like, how do I handle this situation? Like, no, I will
That's
not
true.
be buying
We
that
need ladies'
gift.
opinion.
Why do women keep writing us? Because
Yeah.
we're awful.
Exactly, we're awful at this.
We're like, no.
All right.
Okay.
We need to get a full-time lady on staff.
Secular says, tell Sophia with a smile, capital letters, that you are not close to Stacy. Don't know her taste and do not feel comfortable shopping for her. Smiling when you say it should prevent your refusal from appearing confrontational.
Yeah,
I can't-
that is awesome.
This makes me
Use
feel
your
very
body
creepy.
language and facial expressions to pretty much lie.
Yeah.
Make it seem super pleasant when you're giving her news that she's not going to want to hear.
To fool your friend into believing you.
You should buy her a second gift
Doesn't
to
it-
let her know that you're not going to buy her a gift for her friend.
Isn't that the straight up like wicked, like to be like smiling and like,
exactly.
I don't know her.
I don't know that person.
I'm not even sure what she would want.
We sound really
That's
hoity-toity when
my
we're mocking this
barrier.
person.
No, that's terrible. That's terrible advice.
That's bad.
I don't know this person. I'm
The
not
first
gonna
part
buy
was
anything
good.
for her.
Yeah. We're in agreement so far until the smile that had to be
Exactly.
introduced into it.
Smile in all caps.
All right,
Be
finally,
deceitful.
here we go. Last one. Dear Life from the Path. We went out to dinner with another couple. The wives are psychiatric nurses. The husbands are a banker and a business owner. All of us are accustomed to dealing with sensitive issues. A woman at the table next to ours went to the ladies' room.
Oh, no.
When she returned, a short train of toilet paper
Yes.
was caught in the waistband of her slacks.
Yes.
It was very obvious. There was silence, but a palpable energy. So the woman knew something was amiss, and it might have something to do with her. The tissue floated with each step, so I knew it wasn't weighed down with moisture. Because There's far too much detail in this question.
Right.
Because I didn't perceive it to be an imminent public health threat, I joined the Silent Legion. Yes, that's why you should step in.
Wow.
Did I miss a moral imperative by not letting her know? I didn't know how to do it discreetly. If this should ever happen again, what, if anything, should I do?
Here. Oh, go ahead, man.
Oh, no, she's a stranger, and it doesn't really matter. I mean,
Yeah.
she'll be embarrassed either way. I mean,
Right.
it's just embarrassing. So just ignore it.
Yeah. She's either going to find out about it right now, be embarrassed in front of you, or she's going to find out about it later and then be embarrassed after she's seen you and then not have to deal with you.
Yeah, it's
again.
almost more mortifying that perfect stranger comes up and says, excuse me, you have toilet paper trailing
I
off,
am-
you know.
No,
Yeah.
and hold on a second. This is not like coming out of her shoe. It's in her slacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top of the slacks.
Yeah.
Now, I'd tell her.
Oh,
I'd tell her directly.
I am of the thought of I would just go up to her and say it, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, what's it going to take? Just kind of. Actually, I'd send my. It was a woman, right?
Yes.
I'd have my wife do it. I'd have my wife kind
Yeah,
of
that's
come
a
up
good
to
idea.
her, like maybe. This is why I'm not going to do it. Like maybe kind of touch her
Hey,
slowly on the
man.
back, block. Maybe I'm blocking the view a little bit. Say, hey, you got toilet paper kind of hanging out the top. I just want to let you know I'm blocking the way. Go ahead and grab it.
Nice.
You're
That
good.
is, yeah, I would. That's a good
Good.
idea. Have the wife do it.
And then I
Good
could.
thoughts.
Then my wife can share a wink. Maybe she'll buy us dinner, and then we'll move on with our
Maybe
day.
she'll buy us dinner.
Because what's in it for me?
I love the beginning of this story. It is so great. Two psychiatric nurses, a businessman and a banker.
Thank you for the details.
We know how to handle delicate social situations.
No one knows toilet paper like
But when
bankers.
toilet paper is out someone's slacks, all four of us are dumbfounded.
Give her
You
a
bring us
pill.
a conversation that is just completely crazy, we can handle it. Toilet paper? Not our style. Ridiculous.
I joined the Silent Legion. Did
Yeah,
I miss
exactly.
a moral imperative?
Nah,
Like, here's the
it's
deal.
nothing moral.
Here's the deal. Like, either I don't understand the ambiguity. Either let it go or tell her. The should I not? Should I not? That I don't understand.
If I should ever encounter the situation where someone has toilet paper coming off of their slacks again, what should I do? It's like, wow.
If they're people I'm with, I will tell them every time. You know, if there's pepper in their teeth, or
Yeah.
you know, hey, you got a booger out of your nose hanging out, whatever. But a total stranger, I figure.
It said the woman knew something was amiss, though, Dan. Like, I mean, aren't you helping her out? She knows something like is odd. People are looking at her funny. I
Okay.
feel like just to tell her.
Yeah, I know when something's weird about what's up with me. Like, somebody doesn't have to tell me all the time if something weird's going on. If I have like a hole in my pants or something like that, I can normally just kind of feel the situation that something's going on.
The breeze should give it away.
That's what I meant by feel the situation. Like I have like straight up like split pants before, and not like down the side of the leg before.
Yeah.
And I'm at work, and it was weird because someone random came up to me and said, "Hey, I don't know if you noticed, but you got a huge split in your pants down your leg." And my immediate reaction was, "Oh, well, crap. Thanks. I appreciate that." If someone would have let me walk around all day not knowing that was going on, I would have been like, "Hey, why the heck didn't any of you
that's
guys
different
tell
at
me?"
your workplace, but I mean, you're at a restaurant.
Whatever.
Like, I mean, I just think it would be mortifying and embarrassing for them.
I think it's already embarrassing.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah, I would just tell her.
There's
I-
no way it's not going to be embarrassing. It can be embarrassing for much longer if you wait.
Yeah. We are
The
split
damage
on our
could
advice.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
damage can easily be taken care of by going, "Hey."
But I'm okay. It makes sense to me to have it fall one way or the other.
Yeah.
Ambiguity, however, I don't
Yeah.
understand. All right.
That'd be
Either do it or
tormented
don't.
over it.
You lukewarm person.
Oh man, this was a guy asking. All right, here we go.
Maybe we can help him.
Secular says,
Oh, it was a guy asking.
yeah, the guy was asking the question.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Imagine if the person with the paper trail was you or your wife. Would you want to know so that when you got up to leave the restaurant, all eyes didn't follow you out? A discreet way to have let the woman know there was a problem would have been for you or your wife to have written her a note and given it to her service to pass to her. That way she would know
On
there was a
tissue.
problem with the least amount of embarrassment.
That'd be worse.
We're
Like,
all
I'd
talking
feel-
about it.
I'd feel weird because then I'd be trying to figure out who noticed.
Yeah, oh
Like-
man, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If like if the waiter comes up, "Excuse me, miss," and then hands me a note that says, "Hey, you got TP coming off your butt," I'd be like, and rip it out, and then be like, "I wonder who saw
Who's
it."
looking at
and
me?
then I'd be awkwardly looking around the room trying to match gazes with the person who had personally seen the TP coming off of me,
Yeah.
rather than the person just coming up to me like, "Hey, here's the situation.
Yeah, I would do it personally.
You got some TP coming off you."
Yeah, you better say it. All right. Thanks for listening to Live from the Path. Hey, you can catch us during the week at livefromthepath.org. for previous clips of the shows. You can sign up for the audio podcast and also some details on the upcoming event, July 15th at Zeke's. We got 4 bands coming in, and it's a $5 at the door. Should be a really, really great show. I will definitely be out there, and we'll love to see you guys out. And go to the website. You can check out more details about that. There's also a Facebook event. If you go to our Facebook page, you can check that out. Thank you for listening to Live from the Path. If you need to send us an email, get a hold of us at all, it's info@livefromthepath.org. Have a good week.